Welcome to episode 9 of I Drink and I Stack Things, the show that asks what weighs more, a pound of beer or a pound of gold. Now, last week I drank something that should have alcohol in it but didn't. So this week I'm drinking something that shouldn't have alcohol but does. It's called Not Your Father's Root Beer. I will remind you once again, these episodes so far are not sponsored. I bought this with my own money. Well, I actually bought it with real money this time around because I went to the beer store. And as you can see in this picture here, I bought 5 beers and I paid for them with 2 goldbacks. Now, I can do this because the owner is willing to do that sort of voluntary exchange, but most places don't take gold in any form. To tell you, that ain't gonna happen, so let's get into why. First off, there's simply not enough gold above ground in the whole world to measure the economic output of the United States, let alone the world. We have the highest population in human history. Most of us are working age. We're making more stuff and doing more work than ever, and it all adds up to about $117 trillion worldwide, with America being like a quarter of that. At our current valuation of gold, we would need more than 700,000 tons. And that's more than 3 times the total amount of all the gold that has ever been mined. But we could just punch up the value of gold to match the work, right? Well, if we did that, it would be worth at least $16,000 an ounce. But remember, there's a lot of gold that's not in circulation. Things like ancient Egyptian artifacts, jewelry, shipwrecks, dental fillings, computer chips, that plate that sparks when you put it in the microwave. So that greatly lowers what can realistically be used to pay people for their work. You can't pay someone in King Tut masks. Okay, maybe not with that attitude, but you really probably shouldn't. So let's say $25,000 an ounce. That's where we can set the value of gold to represent the real work people do. That makes a single gold back, like this one, worth $250. As much as I'd love my stack to be worth that much, it kind of defeats the purpose of gold backs. Just to buy a loaf of bread, you would need to get this down to 1/100th of a goldback. I know they're working on a quarter goldback, but you can only divide it so far before you're just handing out clear plastic sheets that barely have any perceptible gold in them. At this point, we're talking practically undetectable and unverifiable amounts of gold as well. You can buy toys on Amazon that look like little $100 bills for less than $1 that have like flakes of gold leaf on them for that, and that thing's basically worthless. So despite everyone's best efforts, there is simply a lower limit to the reasonable size that we can get gold down to, and we can't get it small enough to represent the kind of work that people are doing. But even if gold were viable, we're not going back to the gold standard anyway because of politics. Governments like to have a tight control over the money supply because it allows them, for better or worse, to manipulate it in order to encourage or discourage growth as they feel it's needed. Even if we pretend that our government is completely benevolent and makes all the best decisions for the best outcome for the most people, returning to the gold standard would require austerity measures just to get the gold to match the work. Then when it does, anyone not working would suffer. And that's the problem from within. The problem from without would actually be worse. Russia and China are already trying to hoard massive amounts of gold just to limit the supplies that are on hand. Making that the standard would cripple us in short order and require even smaller amounts of gold for basic purchases domestically. The same goes for silver, just in case you thought that could make up the difference, but that's even going to be a worse situation because it's an industrial metal and they're buying up a lot of it. And all of that is assuming that the Illuminati would even let us. Okay, I kid. But if there were any truth to the JFK rumors that he was assassinated because he wanted to get us back to a silver standard, I'd rather not find out who they're going to take out next. Now, a bigger conspiracy theory that's at least a little more plausible is, what if the vaults are empty? Like Fort Knox, or the one in New York, or the one in Denver. I mean, if they are, then we're back to square one anyway. I recall we were supposed to have an audit of Fort Knox, and then we all just kind of forgot about it, didn't we? I guess a lot of other stuff was happening in the news that we cared about more. Although not to worry if all the gold is gone, because despite all my talk about good faith and credit being the basis for our national currency, fact is the US dollar is actually backed by precious metals, lead and uranium. So that, in a nutshell, is why we won't be going back to the gold standard unless something truly catastrophic happens. And if we end up in a true SHTF situation, the only monetary standards we're really going to care about at that point are ammo and maybe toilet paper. With that, I hope you found this video useful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all the things. Might throw myself a party if I hit 100 subs before the end of February. And with that now, I am going to go enjoy my root beer. Cheers.